Hello and welcome to today's Lunch Bite, Microsoft Excel. Protect your work. Presented by Log On to Learn. In this Lunch Bite, we will help you understand the options available for protecting your workbook. This can include protecting a worksheet, workbook, allowing users to edit a range of cells, open a read-only copy, and protect the Excel file. Before choosing your protection options, you first need to figure out what it is that you're trying to protect. Are you trying to protect just the original copy, not allow any changes, or allow some changes? So I've got an example here and some protection options that are available. And again, you're going to have to decide on your worksheet, what is it that you're trying to protect? Is it the content, the structure of the workbook, a particular range of cells, all of that stuff. And it can be kind of confusing because there's so many different options here as far as protection goes. So let me just give you just a quick overview of some of the protection options available, and then I'll go through these a little bit later as well. So a template or read-only allows you to open a copy of a workbook. So you're not working in the original one. Yes, that user might be able to do whatever they want and destroy that copy, but your original file will be intact. So those are a couple of options without even a password on there that we can create either a template or a read-only. Then we can get into protecting various parts of worksheets. Now, we're not talking about the workbook, just the sheets within the workbook, the content that's in there. So we can protect the entire worksheet and not allow anybody to do anything. Or what we can do is we can open up some of those cells and allow people to edit and enter in certain values in those cells. We can also protect the workbook as far as restricting the way that somebody opens it, protecting the file as well. So if we're sending this file out and it gets intercepted, we want to make sure that only the person with the password is able to open up and view the content. So again, there's several different ways that we can, say, protect part or all of the workbook. Now here's a fine example of why you might want to use a type of protection here. I've created this mileage form that I've put on the network, and what I want to do is allow users to go ahead and enter in their mileage if they exceed their daily commute miles. Well, the problem with it is I put the original file out there. The person that opened it up last entered in their values, and they saved it. So the next person that opens this up, they're not looking at a blank workbook, they're looking at a workbook with some data that's been entered in there. So what they do is they come along here and they highlight the old data and they hit delete. So when they delete, not only did they delete the name and the information, they just deleted some of the formulas that I created. And now when they save or whatever they're going to do with this workbook, all those formulas are gone. So you notice that I have formulas right here in this cell, but these two are now gone. And that's a very common problem that happens if you don't put some type of level of protection on there. So let's explore a couple different options, show you where they are, and what would be maybe the best protection option for using this particular workbook. So I'm going to go to this Protect Sheet tab, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and protect this worksheet. Now, under the Review tab, there's a section called Changes. And under Changes, there's several great buttons here. There's the Protect Sheet, and that will allow you to protect the contents within a sheet. We're talking one sheet here. Protect Workbook will allow you to protect, let's say, the structure of the workbook. We won't allow people to delete, edit, or modify a sheet as far as that goes, but this does not protect the content inside the sheet. Share Workbook allows you to share your workbook on a network, and multiple people can be in it at the same time. And this would kind of go along with that Protect and Share Workbook, adding some protection to that. So if you do share your workbooks and you want multiple users in the same workbook at the same time, those are a couple of options that you can choose from. Allow users to edit ranges. What this does is it allows you to, let's say, protect the workbook and then protect another range that you want certain people to be able to go in and just modify that change. So there's like an extra layer password protection that if they know the password, they can go in there and they can modify it. So we're kind of locking it up a little bit more. There's two passwords, one to change all of the cells, and then another one for just some restricted type cells. So we'll show you that as well. I'm just going to go ahead and just protect this because I want to show you what will happen. When I hit Protect Sheet, it's going to give me the Protect Sheet dialog box and some different choices. Now look what it says right here. Protect worksheet and contents of locked cells. Now I'm going to back out of here just for a second because I want you to see this. As I right click on one of these cells in this worksheet and I go to Format Cells, across the top here, you'll see the Protections tab. When I click on it, notice that the locked button is checked. Every cell in every sheet by default is locked. And that means if you protect this, you lock down every single cell in this sheet. So let me go ahead and protect this now. Now there are some other choices too, as far as what do you want to allow the user to do in this particular worksheet. So you can check or uncheck some of these different boxes right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in a password, but first of all, I'm going to uncheck the select lock cells. And this is kind of neat. If I don't even want people to click to see my formulas or anything like that, I would uncheck this, and they are not even allowed to even click on a single cell, modify, delete, or anything. They won't be able to do anything with these cells. Now I'm going to put a password in, confirm my password, and then I'm going to go ahead and try to click, and as you can see, I'm clicking and I'm not getting anywhere. And if I double click, you can see that I'm getting this error message here just telling me that it's been protected and you're going to have to go in and unprotect it and possibly enter in a password. If I try to delete, let's say, well, I can't even click on anything to delete it, but if I could, and if I deleted or tried to delete, I would get that same type of message telling me that I cannot do that. Obviously, this type of protection does not work for this worksheet because the thing is, we want people to be able to fill in some information, and they certainly can't do that if we protect the entire worksheet. So to unprotect a worksheet, you have the Unprotect Sheet now. Click on it, type in your password, and now I can go ahead and delete or enter anything that I want in. So let's take a different approach to this. Why don't we just unlock some of the cells that we want the user to travel in, and then just protect all of the locked cells. So this can be done a couple different ways depending on how many ranges of unlocked cells that you want to do here. You can actually select them all, create a name range, or we can select them all now and just right click and choose Format Cells and uncheck the lock. And that's what I'm going to do right now. So the cells that I want the user to be able to enter in is this range right here. Now I'm going to hold my control key down, which will allow me to grab these non-contiguous cells, and I'm going to grab these cells right here because this is what I want them to do. I want them to be able to enter in here. I don't want them touching my formulas or modifying anything in any other way. All you got to do now is in one of the selected cells, doesn't matter which one, you just simply right click, Format Cells, and go right to the Protection tab. From the Protection tab, you're going to uncheck the Lock button. Hit OK. And now all of these cells that you just saw that were highlighted are unlocked. So when you go to protect, the unlocked cells are not protected, and that allows the user to go in there and enter something. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Protect Sheet. Now I usually click where I want the user to start first. Go to Protect Sheet. This time I'm going to uncheck the locked cells. I don't want them to navigate, see my formulas, or do anything like that, but I do want to make sure that Select Unlocked Cells is checked, because if I don't check that, then they're not even going to be able to use the form at all. Put in a password, confirm your password, and what I want to do is I want to show you, I'm going to hold the Tab key down and just kind of watch the cell range that this thing jumps to. It's just going to jump through those cells. I can't click anywhere else and select any of the cells. I can only enter in these particular cells. And what's really nice about it is when they hit the Tab key, they go right to the next cell that they can fill in. Now there is another way as well, and you can certainly edit the range. So with a protected type of worksheet, you have to be unprotected at this point to use it, but you can use the Allow Users to Edit Ranges, which means you would grab an additional range and you'd put a password on that one as well. So that is another option as well. Now there are a couple of other things that we can do here as well, and tools that I use. So maybe it's not the point that you are worried about people messing up the actual content of the cells. Maybe you're more concerned with the structure of the workbook. And I don't want them to be able to delete any of these worksheets. I don't want them to rearrange the worksheets. So one of the things that I can do is I could protect the workbook. And Protect the Workbook gives you a couple of different options as far as what you're protecting. Are you protecting the structure? And that's usually the default setting. You can see it's checked here. That means that I cannot edit, delete, modify any of these worksheet tabs here. So in other words, I can't move the worksheet, I can't delete a worksheet, and I can't insert a new worksheet in this workbook. Windows will kind of set up the Windows structure of it, the size of it, and you would just put a password in, confirm the password, and then as you go here, I'm going to right click on this edit range, and I want to delete it. And if you notice, the delete option is grayed out. And if I try to drag it over, look at, I get the no symbol here saying, no, there's no way you're going to be able to drag that. So structurally, I've kept this intact. Again, it doesn't protect the individual cells within the worksheet. I'll go ahead and just unprotect that. One of the extra tools that I use in the protection, I really like this, and this may be one that you'll be interested in as well. And that is, this is great that we've got the protection here where the people can only travel in certain cells, let's say. Let me go back to this one here. So we can only travel, we can't look at the formulas and all that stuff. But the thing is, I want to guarantee that the person is going to open a copy of this and still have all the protection on the cells. We could create a template, and if you're familiar with a template, you know what happens is you create a different extension, so it's not a .xlsx. Okay, it's going to be a tx. And what that's going to do is it's going to force you to open a copy of it. Well, this may work well, and then again, it may not work so well. It really depends on your environment and where you place this file. If it's going to be on a network, where are you going to place it? On your computer, where are you going to place it? Because depending on where you place it, it may actually open the original one up. So one of the tools I use is when I'm getting ready to save something, I'm going to go under File and Save As. I'm going to save it as a regular workbook. I'm not going to change the extension and make it a template or anything like that. But what I'm going to do is under the Tools option right down here next to the Save button, I'm going to go to General Options. Now what General Options allows me to do, well, there's several things that I can actually do here. I could put a password to open. Now that means that if you could see the file, when you double clicked on it or clicked on it to open it up, it's going to require a password to go any further to see any of the content of that particular file. Now that's not the one that I'm using all the time. The one I'm using is this one right here. Password to modify. Let me just put a little password in there. And then just look right just below it here as well. Read-only recommended. Read-only recommended is kind of a softer type protection, right? It says, you know, user really would like you to open this as a read-only unless you have to make a modification to the original file. Then you can go ahead and open the original one. So again, it's not like you need the password. This is, you can open either version, but we really would prefer that you open the read-only version of it. But this one here is going to force us to open a read-only copy. Let me put a password in here and confirm it. And I'll save this. I'm just going to throw it on my desktop so I can find it real quick here, and I'll hit save. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and close this out, and then I'm going to reopen it back up. So this is what you're going to get if you use this particular option, like I say, that I use all the time. If I know the password, great, I can open up the actual file, but look what happens. I either can open up for access with a password or read-only. If I hit read-only, it gives me a read-only copy. So it's an exact copy of the original one, but it's in a read-only. So I cannot save over the original file. So that one's always going to be protected. And I still have all of those protections where I can't click here, and I can only enter in the cells that we had unlocked. And those are some of the ways to protect your worksheet or workbook in Microsoft Excel. Thank you for attending today's Lunch Bite. To view other Lunch Bites as well as other related videos, visit our website at logontolearn.com. Educating the world anytime, anywhere.